All right, welcome to our core workout. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna do some quick side bends here. Just warming up our ab muscles a little bit. The weights I have are 20 pounds, 15 pounds. If you have a kettlebell, you can use that for when we do around the world with the kettlebell, but you can also use a dumbbell. I have a 20-pound kettlebell, but again, dumbbells work just fine too. So, great job showing up today. We're gonna work on our stabilizing muscles, core muscles, have a great time doing it. All right, we're gonna start out with a plank. So down on your knees and on your elbows, and you're going to have nice flat back, straight line. So I don't want your hips down and I don't want them up. Just as straight as you possibly can. Take some nice deep breaths. I'm gonna hold that. Nice job. All right, halfway there. If you have to, you can drop to your knees. Just listen to your body. All right, hold it nice and tight. Almost there. Okay. Great job. I'm already hot and out of breath. I turned my AC up, but it's warm in here. Summer is here. All right, so our next move is going to be a side plank. So you're going to go down on your side, bend those legs. You have your elbow bent, and then you're going to lift up and all the way up. And then you're going to lift, one leg, and it's very challenging. If you find it too difficult to lift that one leg, just hold a side plank. You're gonna work those muscles really well. The goal is to lift that leg 4 times here. As you can see, it's a struggle. All right, bring it down and go to your other side. All right, a little breather. And then we're going to lift up. And then hold that nice and tight. If you're able to, lift your upper leg. Oops. Feel those muscles tightening. One more if possible, or just hold it here on the side. Oh, that does not look pretty. All right, bring it down. Wow, take a little breather. Okay, our next move is around the world. So we're gonna start on our knees, and you can either use a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Kettlebell is easier to hold. You're gonna hold your core rigid and tight, and without moving side to side as I'm going around. I want to be rigid, just moving that kettlebell around you, okay? So if you don't have a kettlebell, you can use a dumbbell. It's just a little more awkward. All right, here we go. Core nice and tight. We're doing 5 times around one way and then switching and going around counterclockwise. Nice. Hopefully you have a good playlist on. Makes your workout go faster. All right, and then switch 2 times, and we're about there. All right, great job. And now we're going to do that same thing. We're going to stand, and we're going to try it on one leg. So balancing on one leg and hopefully not falling over. If you need to just do a little kickstand and tap your toe down, you can. So definitely more challenging to keep my core rigid here. All right, switch directions. Nice work. Almost there. Last one. All right, awesome job. You're gonna need 2 dumbbells for our next movement. It's a Renegade Row. I'm going to use 15s. You could use 20s. What we're doing is we're holding a plank, feet nice and wide, holding our body rigid, and lifting that weight up. All right, here we go. Try not to move your hips. If this gets too difficult, hold a plank. Good job. Almost done. Focus on quality. One more. Oh, wow. That really works it. Okay, grab a drink. Wow, we're gonna do a weighted march. I'm gonna do 15s again. So when I was videoing my first video, it stopped. So I already did one of these, so I'm doing 4 instead of 3 rounds today. I'm already winded. All right, we're going to bring that weight here. I'm going to march in place, bringing those knees as high as you can. If you want to challenge yourself, you can lift it up overhead. Here we go. I'm really trying to engage your core muscles here. Go ahead and drop that weight down if it gets too difficult carrying it overhead. Nice job. All right, almost done. Good job. Set that down. All right, we're going to do our Renegade Rows. So grab your dumbbells. I'm going with my 15s again. And we're going to get in position. Hands under your shoulders, hips up, feet out. And try not to rotate. Move your feet out wider. Try not to rotate your hips side to side. Just holding your core nice and tight. Good job. Nice, slow, controlled movements. Whew, good job. All right, our next move is going to be another plank. So go ahead and get ready. Either down on your elbows or on your hands, up to you. your feet shoulder width apart, and we'll go in about 10 seconds. All right, set up position, and here we go. This really engages all those muscles. Good job. If you have to drop down to your knees, that's okay. Nice deep breaths. I wish my timer was moving more quickly. Almost there. Woo! Try not to let that butt sag. Ah. All right. Nice work. Okay, take a little breather. Then we're gonna do our side planks again. So, knees bent, elbow bent, lift up, straighten those legs. Try not to sag down. Nice straight line. If you are able to, with good form, you can lift up your leg. My form is not so great. I tend to sag down. So I know this is something I really need to work on. Trying to do this 4 times. Oh. 5 more seconds. We've got it. Whew. Okay. Switch sides. Wow. Awesome job. Okay. We're in our second round, so that means we're halfway there. We only have 1 more. All right, lift up. Hold it here. Nice work. When you're ready, if you want, try not to dip down. Oh, lift that leg. This is my weaker side, I can tell. Lift. One more. 5 more seconds. Nice work. All right. You did awesome. Let's see, we are going to do our around the world. So go ahead and stay on your knees, grab your kettlebell, core stays rigid, squeeze those glutes. 5 times around one way, and then switch. Nice work. And switch. We'll do an extra 2. All right, nice job. Then we're going to be on our single leg, or just with a little kickstand, and doing around the world again. So here we go. Try not to bend to one side. Switch rotation if you're there. You could switch legs if you want. Woo. And rotate. Okay, that was a little extra there. Great job. Last is our weighted march. So, I'm gonna grab the weight and high knee marches. Trying to, again, keep your core nice and rigid. If you find you had easy time with that weight, go ahead and get a heavier weight. And again, you can punch that out. See if you can hold your core nice and rigid while the weight's overhead. Good job. Almost there. Nice. All right, grab a drink, take a breather. You're doing awesome. All right. Last round, we're gonna go our plank again. So go ahead and get down in position for that. Either on your elbows or your hands, and here we go. Flat back, so your hips are not poking up and they're not hanging down. Just nice and rigid there. Nice work. Almost there. Keep taking nice deep breaths. All right, almost there. Woo. Good job. Stay on your knees, and we're going to do around the world on our knees. So I'm going to use my 20-pound kettlebell. If you're using the dumbbell, that's great too. All right, here we go. Trying not to move side to side. 5 times around one way, and then rotate around the other way. Good job. And rotate. All right. Our next move is our single leg or with a kickstand. So either lightly tapping that toe or doing a single leg. Here we go. Definitely a lot more challenging to not move side to side. And switch the way you're rotating. You can switch your legs too if you'd like. If you want to put in the comments, let me know how this was for you. I would love some feedback. Are you able to stand on one leg? Do you do the kickstand and rotate? All right, nice work. Set that down. Then you're going to get your 2 dumbbells for the Renegade Row. I'm going to use my 15 pounds again. You can use any weight or no weight that is best for you. All right, here we go. Try not to dip those hips down or shift them side to side. Holding your core in nice and tight while you're doing this. Good job. Almost there. Building a stronger tomorrow. Last one. Wow. You guys are awesome. All right. Let's see, we have our weighted march. I'm gonna grab my 20-pound. And here we go. Good job. Awesome job. If you want, you can switch hands. High knees. And remember, if you want, you can punch that out. Last little bit here. Awesome. Woo. All right. Nice work.